Previously on Superhero Critic.
Computer.
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, sir.
Execute plan LX001.
But sir, there are...
Just shut up and do what I say.
Yes, sir.
Somebody's cheap. Now, where were we? Lois is off to try to get an interview with the president when an accident puts her helicopter in danger of crashing. Luckily, the police are already to the rescue. Okay, they're not going to be much help, but someone else will be. Yes, more than an hour in and we finally get to see Reeve fully decked out in full Superman mode.
Excuse me. That's a bad outfit.
Oh, I'm sorry, are we just gonna ignore the hookers and the pimp in that scene? Superman swoops in, saves Lois and the helicopter as his music trumpets. It truly is a great heroic moment in cinema history.
Wait! Who are you?
That's actually a pretty good question, because the answer could have had multiple answers. Casting the iconic figure was a challenge in and of itself, because it was decided early on, even before Donner was hired, to cast an A-list actor to portray the last son of Krypton, like Robert Redford, Burt Reynolds, and even Sylvester Stallone. Yo, Lois! I did it! Christopher Reeves' name was mentioned, an unknown at the time, but the director and producers felt he was too young and skinny, and their search continued. Some potentials included Bruce Jenner, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and even Christopher Walken. You're talking to Lois all wrong. It's the wrong tone. You do it again, I'll laser beam your face like a soldering iron. The search for Superman became so desperate that the producer's wife's dentist actually auditioned, but luckily they revisited Reeve even though he was told to wear a muscle suit. Reeves said forget that and started training with David Prowse.
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Only a master of evil, Darth.
Guys, Superman was trained by Darth Vader. Reeve packed on about 25 pounds of muscle during pre-production and filming while only getting paid $250,000 for both Superman 1 and 2. See guys, this is a professional actor who takes his role seriously. Superman gets to work. I mean, if you had been waiting for an hour to see the man, better start having him do stuff, right? He stops a jewel thief.
I'd listen to this man.
Stops some robbers on a boat.
Bad vibrations?
Even rescues a cat out of a tree.
Misty was stuck in a tree. This man swooped out of the sky and gave him to me. Haven't I told you to stop telling lies?
Yeah, I think Superman might have missed the real crime in progress here. Of course, all this is just warming up as he rescues Air Force One from crashing out of the sky.
There's someone on the wing. Something.
All of these heroics draws the attention of Lex Luthor, the Daily Planet, and of course, Lois Lane.
Night at 8, your place. Hopefully a friend.
Man, that could have come from anybody. But if it was like this...
Does he live? What is the S?
Night at 8, your place. Hopefully a friend.
Perfect. Superman meets Lois at her rooftop apartment, which amounts to a super creepy interview.
Do you have a girlfriend?
No, I don't, but, if I did, Miss Lane, you'd be the first to know about it.
And how big are you?
Are you kidding me? Did you see that guy's shorts? He's stuffing them with something.
I assume then that the rest of your bodily functions are normal?
Sorry, beg your pardon?
You know what? Let's just sum up the interview like this.
The only way he could bang regular chicks is with a kryptonite condom. That would kill him.
The two decide to take a flight together, and it's around this time that you're probably wanting me to talk about the special effects, right? No? Well, too bad. The effects were all created before the digital age of computer graphics, so the crew had to get creative. During early tests, they tried a remote-controlled replica of Superman that they flew around like a model plane, as well as launching a dummy out of a cannon. But ultimately, they used 3 techniques to make Superman fly. The first was landings and takeoffs, an easy skill that involves wire rigging, a technique still used today. The second, for stationary shots, basically anytime you see Superman flying towards the camera, a blue screen was used along with a matte background. In other words, he's remaining stationary as the background moves. And finally, the front projection, known as tracking flying. This was a technique where they would move Reeve in front of a film projection so he could fly alongside the camera. All of this being very groundbreaking stuff at the time. Okay, back to the movie. Superman and Lois soar among the clouds and embrace romantically after he almost drops her to her death.
Can you read my mind?
Oh God, it's this scene. This "can you read my mind" scene is so weird and off. It just feels so out of place. It's this strange spoken word poetry recited by Lois with no outside audio. It's like the whole audience just put on headphones all of a sudden. But this would have made a bit more sense as it originally was meant to be an actual singing moment, but Donner disliked the thought and threw it out. And yet he leaves the spoken word in. Superman and Lois fly around a bit more, soaring through the sky and the clouds.
Wow, man. That's some heavy shit, man.
Eventually dropping her back off at her place, only to appear as Clark for another date. Serious stalker red flag here. After the interview, Lois publishes her story and it is read by Lex, who manages to conclude that the infamous Kryptonite can kill Superman and explains his plans.
He can see you coming for miles with those super peepers of his.
Through lead, and Kryptonite will destroy him.
Everybody got that?
Before Kryptonite Man here puts his plan into motion, he's got another scheme to pull off. His so-called greatest crime in history, involving sabotaging 2 nuclear warheads. Believe it or not, their plan doesn't work, because Ned Beatty's character is a fucking moron.
To 38, the second one to 67, and the third one to 117. What about the fourth one?
Just look at this dumbass. He looks like a life-size good guy doll. But since the movie can't continue without this plot, Luthor and the gang immediately try again, this time successfully reprogramming the missiles, all while looking like the Bandit. Back with Clark at the Daily Planet, Lex tells him that he'll kill half of Metropolis's population unless he can find him, communicating through a truly annoying sound. Oh God, could someone turn down the Yoko Ono CD? It makes me want to leap to my death. Superman quickly pinpoints the source of the noise and tunnels into the sewers. He confronts Lex, who in turn explains that his plan is to sink California into the sea by setting off his reprogrammed nuke at the San Andreas Fault, making all his land purchased in the desert super valuable. If it sounds far-fetched and ridiculous, that's only because it is. The 2 missiles have already been launched, and it doesn't take long for the military to realize they're off course.
No! Shut them all down! Hurry!
So what? There are 2 nuclear missiles flying at high speed in opposite directions. Big deal, he can catch them in no time. That, however, could slow him down. The other missile is speeding towards New Jersey. I'm sure Toxie could appreciate it, but Miss Tessmacher doesn't, and she saves him if he promises to rescue her mother first. He flies off and diverts the first missile away just as the second explodes along the fault line, setting off a massive earthquake. Superman has his work cut out for him here. He saves a bus full of kids, prevents the Hoover Dam from wiping out a town by causing a rock slide. Hell, he even tries to hold up the actual fault line itself. But he's not overpowered or anything, right? However, as fast as he is, he just can't save Lois in time, who dies trapped under the crumbling Earth. Now, what follows next is one of the dumbest things in film history. Superman flies around the planet at such high speed that he reverses time itself.
88 miles per hour!
This is so stupid for more reasons than I can count, but I'll sum it up like this. You can't reverse time by retrograding the Earth. It doesn't work that way. Of course, here it does, meaning Lois is safe and Lex is brought to justice. Well, kind of. He literally just drops him off out of prison.
Apparently nobody ever told him what due process was.
And that wraps up the critically acclaimed Superman. How was it? Superman is a landmark in not just the superhero genre of movies, but in filmmaking in general, developing techniques that would be utilized and perfected in the future before the introduction of digital effects. The themes of the film can be broken up into three parts. Firstly, being Krypton an otherworldly science fiction theme as it transcends to Smallville, harboring a 1950s style of film, before finally concluding in Metropolis to give a sense of realism, or as Donner would put it, verisimilitude. It starts off alien and unrealistic, transfers to the 1950s where the at the time adults were children, and then takes them over to a modern setting. It's actually genius in storytelling. That's not the only thing either, as many have made comparisons to Christian imagery about the story. Something I really don't want to get into.
Do it!
Fine! Superman's journey is often compared to that of Jesus Christ. Starting with Jor-El representing God, he cast Zod, being the devil, out of heaven. He sends his only son to Earth in what looks like a star to childless parents Martha and Jonathan Kent, and he grows up to be the literal God and savior to mankind. I say people just see what they want to see, as originally Superman was a comment on Jewish immigration. Regardless of the themes, Superman was well received both critically and at the box office, earning $300 million on a budget of just $55. Superman represents one of the pillars in which all superhero movies stand. It deserves to be enjoyed by anyone who loves the genre. Later, true believers.
Marina Del X. Otisburg. Otisburg.